This podcast is brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to find out how you can get over a dozen bonus episodes, a monthly newsletter, and a sticker in the mail. That's right, your very own sticker supporting this podcast. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to learn more. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Uncle Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, a dreamer with a silly heart, the Macho Man Drew.
Gunkle Andrew.
Gunkle? Is that gay?
Uncle? I mean, technically, it would be Bunkle, but yeah.
I had to go, purely guessing.
You haven't heard Gunkle before?
I haven't. I've heard Funkle.
No, yeah, Gunkle, gay uncle.
Gunkle. Yeah. I mean, it's not shocking to me that I have not heard the abbreviation before. It's the second half of Candy-ed Yams with one of our... We did one new... It's like we do a thing that our family would never do on Thanksgiving, but I have heard their families do on Thanksgiving, which is like change things up a little bit. Yeah. So we started Candy-ed Yams, new John Candy for us, ending Candy-ed Yams with an old fave.
You can always add, but you cannot replace.
So I that's certainly how our Thanksgiving is, but I have known people who are like, oh yeah, like I'll do, I'll go crazy. Like we'll just completely change the stuffing and people are fine with it. And I was like, wow, my family, you get shot.
Yeah, that's not a thing. Not a thing.
Because I smoke a turkey for Friendsgiving, and my friend was like, oh, can you give me my husband the recipe so we can smoke a turkey for my family Thanksgiving? And I was like, if I smoked the turkey for my family Thanksgiving, there would be a riot. Like, unless I was making 2 turkeys.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, turkey is like the one part of Thanksgiving that I'm like, you can do that. You can change that up. I don't care about the turkey.
I love
it's turkey. The sides for me.
I do. In normal years, I do a second smoked turkey for just me and my wife.
Oh, okay.
So, like after Friendsgiving, I do another one.
Because there's nothing left, I assume.
In the first couple of years, that was true. Now, more and more, I've been getting like a 20-pounder and the guest list,
Well, if your Friendsgiving is before our Thanksgiving and there's turkey left, bring me a slice. I'll try a smoked turkey.
Okay. I will see what I can do for that. But enough about turkey. Let's talk about John Candy. We watched Uncle Buck, and you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your cat in the hat uncle. Someone's gonna get your cat in the hat uncle.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
I've never heard it put that way before, but I like that. I do. I think that's pretty good.
Although he doesn't do as much cleanup as the Cat in the Hat did.
He did. Well, the place is pretty spick and span when mom and dad get home, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. At the end, Shanice says, like, we try to clean or whatever, so...
Yeah, I feel like if it was accurate, it would be the end of Home Alone, and
what did you do?
Like, Buck, what did you do to our house? Yeah, exactly. That would be if he really wasn't doing anything. But yeah, this is a real treat. This one, I had not watched this movie in a long time, and I realized I watched it with my wife, who had never seen it before, and she really enjoyed it, which I was delighted by. But she asked how many times I'd seen it, and I was like, like A to Z all the way through, that number is probably pretty small, because this was, I feel like, a cable classic that I watched.
You think?
Like, I've seen scenes of this movie dozens of times, but the number of times I've watched A to Z Uncle Buck is smaller. Like, I would say it's like
10. The
number of times I've seen I would say, yeah, but like probably in the like 7 to 10 range of like complete watches. But if you were to add up all of the, like, I watched one segment or 2 segments on cable between commercials, it's probably like 30. Like, if each one of those is a distinct time. So I'm just saying, it's like, I feel like there's segments of this movie I'm much more familiar with. This is a great, this is also my thesis, that I think we may have talked about in previous, oh my God, John Hughes movies. I was like, no, not him, flipping through the Rolodex. John Hughes movies are so often like perfectly segmented for cable re-airing. And I have no idea if that was conscious or that's just the way he approached making movies. But I was thinking about Home Alone is like very segmentable. Like each scene is like a distinct chapter in a book, sort of, that you can like just, or not, almost like an individual little short story. It's like you can watch certain segments of the movie almost like standalone. Obviously, it's better in the context of the movie, but I feel like you can watch like chunks of it, and then you can see where the commercials would go, and so you can see.
Well, especially I think for something that like
in
the greater public consciousness, like everyone knows the A to Z story of Home Alone, so it can just be on TV.
Yeah.
At your Thanksgivings, at your holiday parties.
Absolutely. Yeah. But even movies I'm like super familiar with, and like there are movies that are like great for cable and movies that are less good for cable. And I feel like almost every John Hughes I can think of are like perfectly chunkable, where it's like you're flipping, you see it's Uncle Buck, you stop. Oh, it's the part where he like yells at the teacher and goes in the bathroom and the toilet's too short. And we just like watch that segment, and then he's like, he throws the quarter at the lady, and then it's like commercial break. I'm like, okay, back to flipping. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't remember. Did we decide whether or not Adventures in Babysitting is John Hughes or just feels like it?
I thought that was written by John Hughes, maybe.
I knew that was Chris Columbus.
I mean, those two get intertwined because Hughes wrote Home Alone and he directed it.
Yeah.
So that may be just what we're doing there.
If it's not, it's the John Hughesiest non-John Hughes movie ever made.
That was Columbus's directorial review. No, it's not. It's written by David Simpkins.
And Hughes didn't like produce or anything?
It's possible. I'm not seeing his name up here on the top of this listing.
I mean, I feel like
I think that feels John Hughesy more because it's set in Chicago than anything else, and that it's like kind of kid oriented.
Yeah, but it also has kind of segments to it. It's the same way that Clue is a Mel Brooks movie without being a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying there. I think Adventures in Babysitting is less. No, I guess it's pretty. Yeah, I guess it's pretty similar. It somehow it doesn't feel as like lesson learny as.
Oh, it's definitely there's definitely less of a lesson, but it's in terms of that's structure and characters and story.
Yeah,
it feels Hughesy.
Yeah, I feel like in my brain estimation of John Hughes, it's like you got some hijinks, it's largely teenagers, and then like at the end we have like the big heartfelt speech, like very much what the Goldbergs formula rips off, although when you do that in a 20-minute episode every week, it maybe a little more samey than when you do it in 10 movies or whatever. But yeah, same kind of vibes. But it had been a long time since I watched this, and so it was like long enough that I was able to be surprised by things that I did not recall. Like I remember a lot of details of the movie, of course,
but a few things.
Yeah, like, I'm always referencing the giant pancake and like pulling that scene up and watching it and stuff. But yeah, there's a ton here. First of all, big shout outs for Macaulay Culkin and Gabby Hoffman, two really good little kid performances.
Oh, for sure.
So rare. So that's, starting well off there. But then I also want to say Jean Louisa Kelly, who plays the older sister,
Tia,
is really phenomenal in this
She's very good.
Like really, really good. And just didn't really break out and work that much, which I find really, really shocking. And I almost wonder if it's a case of like too good at playing a bitch, people just assume you are one.
I also feel like because Winona Ryder was tapped to do this, but she was doing Heather, so she couldn't. And Ali Sheedy was also approached, but wasn't able to do it for whatever reason. And I feel like there was a sort of it was the renaissance of like alternative girls in the late 80s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so.
Because I don't think Jean Louisa Kelly is like either of them in vibe.
I think she's pretty got a Winona vibe to her. Like she's got that like alternative, like.
I mean, both of the girls Winona and
Sheedy.
Ali Sheedy, I feel like are version alpha goth. Like they're not goth yet, but they are what goth springs forth from. Like Beetlejuice Winona is like goth 0.0, and then Ali Sheedy is like the loner artsy girl stereotype of like not quite goth but touching it. I just feel like I feel like this girl is more of like mean girl mainstream.
I don't get mainstream mean girl from her. In the 80s, like that's not what mainstream girls looked like. Like in terms of what they wore and
maybe.
Like she was a little more alternative.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't getting alternative here because I was getting like girl trying to like I think she was Christ, what's her
Regina
name?
George, Heather Chandler.
No. The Molly Ringwald. Like I think this girl was Molly Ringwald, and then her parents moved, and she was like, "Fuck you, you've ruined my life. Now I'm dressing only in brown." That is what I read this character as. That this is like a Molly Ringwald. She was captain of the cheer squad. She was like queen of her school, and then all of a sudden, hey, guess what? Your dad got a new job. We're moving into the middle of the suburbs. You're going to a new school. We're going to this new house, yada, yada, yada. And she is just like, ugh, no, I reject this. I'm never wearing pink again.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't necessarily get that, but also I feel like the room should have told me more of that. If that is the intention, I feel like her room would have been more girly.
Yeah, I feel like the room is sort of how I interpret it too, because I feel like the room doesn't have your like, you know, the Morrissey or the Smiths, I guess probably the Smiths at that time, emo-y bands. Like, I don't know. I just feel like in her room, you've got like modern English and also her horse trophies or something if we looked hard enough. But obviously we don't see the room that much, but it's even the room's kind of pink and wicker. I feel like it feels like a Molly Ringwald bedroom to me.
It seemed like she was in her parents' room the one time she was like on the phone. So
maybe you're right.
That's why I was a little confused.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I thought that the point where like she yells at Buck and she's like, "It sucks."
Oh shit, you're right. That is in her room. I just didn't pay attention to the background.
Okay, and I just my memory of it is like white wicker furniture and pink. But also, I feel like Bug is a pretty classic like piss off your parents' boyfriend.
But Bug's dad is a lawyer, so he's a rich kid.
Yeah, but like, how many rich kids have you seen do like rebellious shit to piss off their parents? I feel like it's all a big soup of the same thing. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. Both interpretations are valid. We can just start talking more about the movie. But all this to say is like, maybe you're right that that's why she didn't get more work. But like, what a bummer that she didn't. Although I was delighted to find out that if you've seen Malignant. If you've seen Malignant, she has a part in that. She's like the person who gets bound.
Is she the one from? She did the underground city tour. Was that her?
That must be it. Yeah. Like when you look her up on IMDb, there's like a picture of her like hiding from a sword. I think it's a sword that gets thrown at her in the attic.
A pointy object,
whatever,
a stabby weapon.
Fun horror movie if you haven't seen it.
It's good.
You like those, but. Anyway, we got a short bus pulling up to the house, which uncommented on, but I thought was going to be like a source of derision between siblings here.
Yeah, no.
And I love this little exchange we start off with Gene. I'm going to start calling her Gene Kelly. I'm sure she went by
Tia.
3 names because of it. Yeah, Tia. Okay, fine. Well, I don't know the other characters.
Maisie.
Names, so
Tia, Maisie, and Miles.
Okay. Well, look.
It was the fastest way to write things down because Macaulay is a long name.
I just write Mac and Gabby,
which apparently is what he goes by IRL.
He also did like a Twitter poll and got Bodie McBoatface, so his name is Macaulay Calkin because he was going to change his middle name and people said you should change your middle name to Macaulay Calkin.
I like that. That's fun.
So it's 2 Macaulays, 2 Calkins.
I like that.
I love this. I thought crap was a swear. Oh, no, that's shit. Oh, okay. Like teaching the little sister how to curse.
It feels very organic. And also, Maisie is putting easy cheese on cheese balls, and I'm very inspired.
Yes, she really has having quite a snack there. Macaulay Culkin has a fight with the older sister. And then we cut to dinner time, and
oh boy, is Tia misogynistic, shockingly.
Oh, yeah. But she's like giving her mom guff. But also, like, I get the impression that the mom works.
That's what I mean. Both of her parents are salaried employees, and yet she's only giving her mom shit for not cooking dinner. And it's like, well, hey, sweetheart, what about the dude at the other end of the table? He could have also made dinner.
Also, why are you bitching about Chinese food?
Yeah, truly.
Great dinner, delicious dinner. It's not like you're eating Stouffer's frozen entrees, which are, I could get how that one feels old after a week. But like, hey man, hook me up with the Chinese food once a week, baby.
Truly.
Let's go.
But yeah, no, both of her parents are salaried employees, and she only ever gives her mom shit for not being domestic. And it's like, hey girl.
Yeah.
I feel like, come on girl.
I mean, also, this is I think part of this is like, if it was a boy, it would be fighting with the dad, but because it's a girl, we're fighting with the mom sort of situation. Like, also in the writing, like, that certainly is what we're doing here, because, you know, later the reconciliation is not with dad. Although they do, and
well, it's because she's specifically antagonizing her mom.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I was also going to say, like, I feel like dad is a clueless buffoon is pretty standard for John Hughes. Right? Like Ferris Bueller, 100% Ferris Bueller's dad.
Yeah.
The dads we never actually see in Breakfast Club, but they're all pretty negatively painted by their children.
Surely.
16 Candles, they all forget her birthday, so I'll just lump that in there. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
But there's a wedding in that one. That's the wedding one, right?
I thought 16 Candles, everybody forgets Molly Ringwald's birthday.
But they forget because it's the wedding.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one that many times. Eventually, we're going to end up doing it on the podcast. We have not gotten to it. That is one that I 100% as a young person was like, this is a girl movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. So I'm sure that's what happened there. And I feel like Kevin McAllister's dad is, what's his, John Hurd is the actor's name. I feel like he's kind of dumb.
A little bit.
Like, not as bad as the ones we just mentioned, but he's, like, kind of buffoony.
I guess he just tends to write stronger mother characters. Like,
yeah, they get way more to do.
And I get stronger in the sense that, like, they're more, like, assertive characters.
Yeah. Yeah, like, to be an armchair psychiatrist here, I think John Hughes had a much more interesting relationship with his mom than his dad.
Oh, probably.
Is what I would say. But I also I forget who's teaching who chopsticks here, because I really enjoyed.
It seemed like Macaulay was teaching dad. Okay,
that's what I thought. I just wrote down teaching chopsticks, LOL. But I remembered it being kind of a cute moment. I'm sure this is a 5-timer, but I went out for Chinese food with the girl I dated in high school's family once, and none of them knew how to use chopsticks, and were like amazed when I picked them up and started using it. And so I ended up giving like a chopsticks tutorial to 5 people, but like. I'm not like an advanced chopstick user. I'm at like this stage of my life, I give myself like a 6, which I feel is
this is proficient. I would say,
yeah. I can do rice and stuff. At the time, I was like a 4, just like by sheer number of times used. You know, I've eaten a lot more cuisine that uses them now, and I was teaching these people, and it's like in hindsight, these people are probably like, "What's this fool doing?"
Yeah. Although my boyfriend's mom, she didn't really know how to use chopsticks. I think we got Chinese on Christmas last year, the year before or something. And it was like, she was like, oh yeah, I don't really use chopsticks. And I was like, oh, do you not know how? And she was like, I just never learned. And I was like, oh, I can teach you. And she was like, well, I actually bought something to teach me. And she put out a little contraption you stick them into. Because remember when I was growing up, I had one that was like a giraffe. So the legs, they had long ass legs, and those were the chopsticks, but they were connected to a body. So they sprung out and you didn't have to have as much control. It was basically something like that you just stuck the chopsticks into for that. And I was like, oh. And she tried it for a few minutes. She's like, I think a fork is fine. And I was like, power to you.
I've seen Chinese restaurants do like a folded up napkin and a rubber band
or the wrapper. You fold
that's probably
up
what
the
it is.
wrapper.
Yeah. Anyway, we cut over to Buck and Amy Madigan, who
love her.
Also a great female character in this. Buck's girlfriend, I feel like, is a pretty, she gets Amy Madigan gets a lot to do here, a lot of agency. She's like not a doormat, which I like. Like, the charm of Buck is that a guy you shouldn't like wins you over, I think.
Yeah.
And so there's a world in which, and my wife's reaction, especially when we find out that Buck and her have been dating for 8 years?
8 years, she said.
They say. And she was like, what the fuck? Like, this guy, 8 years? Which honestly, like, I kind of get. But then by the end of the movie, you're like, well, I guess I see it.
Yeah, I mean, John Candy, as we've said numerous times in this podcast, is just a very charming man. So, like, I get it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, but this character is sort of like a tumor that grows on you.
But also like to me, it feels like he clearly cares for her. He's just not taking her very seriously, which I think is easy to get stuck in a cycle of like, I can come. He'll get the hint. He'll get the hint.
Yeah. Also, like, Buck needs to grow up, and this movie is the catalyst for him seeing that.
Yeah.
Like, him getting thrust into this fatherly role is how he ends up feeling like, oh, I have to I have to change. Like I care about this person and this person wants this and I have to put their needs ahead of my own. It's like a real part of being in a relationship as an adult. So Buck gets that growth. A lot of characters get growth in this movie, which is really satisfying to watch. The other thing I kept thinking about in this movie as it goes, and we'll get back to the narrative momentarily, but like, I know you haven't watched Ted Lasso, but there's a sequence in the first season where one of the characters, Roy,
is he the one who's very hot but very angry looking all the time with anger issues, and he's dating Juno
Temple, yeah. So he like really hates Ted's whole like Midwestern nice guy thing, and there's like a great exchange between two characters where Ted's assistant is like, "Wow, he really hates us," and Ted's like, wait until we win him over. He's really gonna hate us. And that's like that character's growth is like such a fundamental part of that show. But that's sort of what happens here too, of like, you see it early with Tia where she's just like, you scumbum, I hate you. And it's like, oh, she's really gonna hate it when she realizes
just you wait,
right.
Puddin'.
Yeah. So that I find really satisfying. But Buck's trying to avoid doing this new job working for his girlfriend. He feels kind of emasculated by this, obviously. Buck also basically funds his year by cheating once a year at horse racing, which seems insane. Like, I don't know what the mafia is involved in these days. I feel like less and less control, but horse racing in 1985 or 88, whatever year this is, feels like there's probably still some mob connections. Seems like a good way to get your kneecaps cut off.
Probably.
We get a late night phone call at the Tia and Maisie and everybody's house, and it turns out that their grandfather had a heart attack.
Their mom's father.
Mom's father had a heart attack. And so they're like, okay, we got to go right now. We moved away from him. We got to drive back. Who can we call to watch the kids? Oh no, we're in a new place. We don't have anyone. Suddenly, what's our best option? It's Uncle Buck. And the mom is furious.
Mom, at one point, she's talking about like his trashy friends. She goes, that woman that sells tires. And I was like, that woman that owns her own business?
Yeah, like, it's super classist. It's super duper classist. And I don't think that's an accident.
No, I'm just like, it's one thing if like Shanice's character didn't have a job or whatever, but she owns a business and is trying to hire Buck so that he can get his life on track. Like, direct it the right way, ma'am.
Yeah, this is a woman with multiple employees.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not just like she's a CPA who runs her own firm and it's just her and she's like, oh, I'll bring Buck in to do some filing or something. Like, she has a business with multiple mechanics.
She has to sign off on payroll.
You know, we see her. Yeah, exactly. It's super, super shitty that like, it's very much like, oh, white collar looking down on blue collar, which I think is interesting. It doesn't ever get much more than that in the movie, but I found that very interesting.
Enjoy your world without tires, lady.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if she's providing vital service.
And we get some really nice world building when they do call John Candy and he's talking to his brother.
Yes. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, I think.
If not later. Like it's...
Yeah, 1 or 2 a.m.
But he's talking like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I'm sorry about the bushes catching fire. I never should have put the barbecue so close. Like these little nuggets of a story that I'm like, wait a minute, hang on. We never get a full story on that, by the way.
Right. Well, it's like you got exactly enough of those details to be like, it's your fault for trusting Buck. I don't know why you did that.
Yeah.
He also has a hilarious like coughing, clearing fit as soon as the call comes. And the two like really dumb jokes that I really like. One is him using the clapper and like even the Cub sign is
clap activated.
It's like everything. Yeah. And then they have their conversation. Hey Buck, I need your help. Okay, I'm going to come. And he hangs up the phone. He turns to the wife and he's like, he was asleep, which is a good sign.
I know, that's such a good joke.
A really nice delivery and line there.
Well, I also like in the next scene, Buck is packing to leave and he calls Shanice and we only see it from his side where he's clearly getting cut off. He's like, let me just, and it goes on for like 30 to 45 seconds, which sounds like it would be too long, but is just the right amount of time to be hilarious.
I have a feeling, and I have done no research on this, but I feel like we've watched another John Candy movie where he does this same bit, and I wonder if it was like a Second City sketch. Because couldn't you see?
Maybe.
like a live sketch comedy thing, like one half of a fight on the phone. And it's just like John Candy comes out for 30 seconds. He does that. People laugh.
Fill some time.
Boom,
yeah.
Roll the next sketch in.
Let Catherine O'Hara change wigs.
Yeah, yeah. And then 10 minutes, 20 minutes later in the show, more of a fight happening on a phone. And John Candy comes out, does the same bit again. Big laugh. Same thing. And like, and then the third one is like just the one where he finally gets like, I need to, and they hung up, click. And then, like I could see that being a really good runner in a sketch show. So I'm curious if that has any roots like that. He also gets attacked by his closet, which I like a lot.
Always fun. Closet avalanche.
And so we see the Buckmobile, and it's this like complete POS, and he's trying to remember the kids' names and ages, and it's just like could not be more off. Which makes me wonder how long ago the barbecue story was. Was it? Well,
he goes, Tia's got to be at least 9, maybe 10, and Tia's probably 17, 16.
At least 16, although she doesn't have a driver's license, and it's kind of a point of contention, so 17 seems in play as well.
Yeah.
Wrong house, classic gag here. He's ringing the wrong doorbell.
Love that bit.
And finally we get in the right house. He's talking to the mom, and he's like, I quit cigarettes. I'm on to cigars, and then I'm going to go to pipe tobacco and then nicotine gum. I'm on a 5-year quitting plan, which is just like such a classic, like you have 0 plans to quit. Get off of it.
Yeah. And she's like saying, I'll leave you some blank checks. And he starts to be like, no, I'll pay. And then there's the realization that like, wait, I don't know if I have money.
I definitely can't pay for all these children.
She clearly hates him.
Yeah. I also really love that his like first question is, do you have a plunger and where is it? It's like, this is a man who has clogged a toilet.
I mean, hey, look, because some houses, I know people that they have one plunger and it's like in their basement cleaning supplies section. And I'm like, hey, no, there should be a plunger at every toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
And they seem like the family that would have one plunger in the basement for the cleaning people. Yeah.
Still in the wrap.
No, I don't think it's still in the wrap, but I think it's for the cleaning people. Like they use it.
Well, you don't need to I mean, yes, you're saying these are dainty poopers is what you're trying to get at. Bug's a big pooper.
Yes.
Well, this is exacerbated by the fact that he apparently has a craving for cheese constantly, like a big mouse. So
well, I mean, hey, I hear that.
Up. Yeah.
I kind of wanted a moment where mom is like, look, you're only here because you are the only option kind of thing.
She sort of gets there when she's like, I'm very nervous about this or very scared about this. I forget what the exact word she uses.
When does she say that?
Oh, is that on the phone?
No, because on the phone she says, I'm very comforted that you're there. Like she's clearly...
No, I thought she said the opposite of that.
No, I mean...
She starts crying.
That's why I was confused that she was crying but still trying to say like, I'm secured knowing you're there or something.
I thought she says, I'm concerned knowing you're there.
Maybe she did. Maybe I misheard, but I swear she says, because I was like, this is a weird that, because his response to that is like, oh, well, thank you. Like, he doesn't respond in a way that's like, tries to reassure her.
I took that as him being like stunned into silence. I wonder what the actual line is, because this is one of the rare times when it's not like, oh, I thought it was this, you thought it was that, and we're like kind of shading. It's like you and I think literal opposites of what the line was. So we'll tweet at us.
Well, I wonder if it's on IMDb.
The line is. It must be. I mean, somewhere. I think that he does the like, I don't even know how to respond to that, but you can look it up. I think that's what you're doing. And I will keep going. There's also a great moment between the two of them where they go to leave. Buck's like, don't you have nothing to worry about? He tries to give her a kiss on the cheek and she just recoils from him. It's not even like a little move away. It's like, oh no, absolutely not. Also, part of the reason I think it's what I said is she was concerned when she left, and then the daughter was like, between those things, the daughter is like, he's beating your children, basically. So there's really been nothing to assuage her fears. Okay. Pull the movie up and put the subtitles on, but that would take, several minutes.
I'm going to pretend we got word from a producer like we're a big famous podcast for confirmation. And I didn't just pause. I didn't just mute my mic and scrub through the movie. She says, I feel very secure knowing you're there. Thank you. She's crying while she says it, so it's clearly like a mixed thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I'm like, if she hates him so much, which is fine, like that's allowed to be the character choice.
Yeah.
It felt like there needed to be a like, look, you are not my first choice for this job.
Sure, or also just like have a bit where like she talks to Miles and Maisie, because like I'm not sure the timeline when that happens in the movie, but like
Maisie actually
Miles
never
and Maisie,
interacts with her parents.
Yeah, it's crazy. I also thought about that, but it's just like have the moment where the two of them are like, "Mom, this has been so much fun. Like we're doing great. Also, I got an A on my test. You know, like to show that like he's making us do our homework and he's making us do our stuff. You know that like he's acting responsibly. A person, it's like he steps up.
He's making them do chores, like wash the dishes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, he's putting me to work around here or something like that. I think
and you can see the like seeds of Home Alone in Macaulay Culkin's performance here.
100%. Yeah.
Like him at the dishes, I like Mandela affected myself for a second. I was like, oh, there's a shot of him at the dishes lip syncing to this like doo-woppy song or whatever he was listening to.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, you are thinking of the bathroom scene in Home Alone.
Yep. I also love great like physical comedy gag with Candy where he gets the antique plate and he drops it.
So
and he's like, oh, it's unbreakable, and then smashes it on the piano. Just like great stuff.
So good.
And also the follow-up to that where he's on the phone with her. He's like, where would you find a plate like that? Oh, it's old. Oh, like an antique shop downtown, maybe. Like he's great.
Oh, in London. Got it.
Yeah, it's so very obviously just like you can't see her on the other end of the phone, but you can see her being like, oh my God, he broke the fucking plate. You know.
Cut to him making breakfast, and honestly, looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's not a perfect omelet. It's more of a scramble, but some nice looking eggs with peppers and onions.
It's a filling scramble, which is fine. A scramble with fillings, I should say.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Oh, I love a mess.
A place, a diner near where we grew up would make a broken omelet with all sorts of stuff in it, and they always called it a mess.
Well, apparently that's a thing. I Googled because I like looked at. I was like looking for something. I was like, what exactly was it? And I tried to look it up online. And when I was doing so, I was like, wait a minute. A mess is not something that like they coined and made up. It's just like a very common like dinery kind of.
Yeah.
It's like hash browns, eggs, onions, cheese, and fillings.
Yeah. It's like a lot of times diner omelets are kind of like a egg burrito.
Yeah.
And they just mix everything together.
Mm-hmm. But it's like a complete balanced breakfast from a breakfast commercial. He's got the eggs and toast and half a grapefruit and a wedge of orange.
Yeah. He's doing all right in terms of breakfast. It's a nice breakfast. Of course, Tia hates it and she turns Miles and Maisie about it. Although Macaulay does have he's cooking our garbage, which is
a good one.
Pretty, good line reading. Also, I love Tia being like, when I come back down from brushing your sister's hair, I'll fix you some cereal. I'm like, fix is a strong
I will say, as I was watching the beginning, because
pour, I think is the word you want here.
I forgot how quickly John Candy stands up to Tia. And I was like,
yes.
Truly what she, like, this should have been, the remake of this movie, because they tried to make 2 TV shows out of this movie. So a movie remake is coming eventually.
Yeah.
Gunkle Buck. And he has just like, he's like, oh, you're a mean girl. Cute. Watch this. And just like read her to filth.
Are you? So you're basically doing Queer Eye for My Brother's Children.
Kind of, yeah. But then, because like I have a few plot points later that I was like, oh, in Gunkle Buck, this could have become this.
The problem with it is I don't think people will buy a gay person as an unput together slob.
Oh.
Which is sort of key to the Uncle Buck
That
experience.
is thanks to the only the good stereotypes that make it into film and television. But believe you me, we are messes.
Yeah. Well, it's like, of course there are.
We're
like,
rotted.
Every person, every category you could put a person into, within that category, there is a broad spectrum of people. Like, of course they are. But it's like one of the few, as you said, positive stereotypes is like a gay person in a movie is always
neat
like
and put together.
A fairy. Yeah, they're like a fairy godmother.
I think Gunkle Buck would be a bear. To be in line with that. And so he's not going to be as like waxed and polished and pumped and gymmed and Botox. Like, no, get that shit out of here. I don't want Aaron Samuels playing Gunkle Buck. Give me Damien. I want Damien to play Gunkle Buck, not Aaron Samuels.
Damien
from Mean Girls.
Daniel
Daniel Franzese.
I thought you meant the Omen.
Oh,
Like, wait a minute. What does he look like now? I don't know anything about this.
No, Damien to play Gunkle.
It's all
Buck.
for you, Uncle Buck.
But yeah, because like the Gunkle, when the teen girl tries to be like, I'm not talking to you, I'm drinking black coffee. It's like, cute girl, we're not playing this game.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you can do to me,
just the pure
already happened, and I got over it, and then I retaliated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, he's just like, I am on the thinnest of ice. I'm going to do this well. Like, I have a chance here to do a thing that's going to be meaningful, and I'm going to take it. Like, I never do this, and I'm actually going to do it, which is like right from Jump Street. He kind of explains the thesis of this movie. There's also the great sequence here, and I read this in the trivia, which I thought was really sweet. There's the back and forth rapid fire with Macaulay Culkin and John Candy, where it's like, what do you do for a living?
Lots of things. Where's your office? Don't have one. Why not? Don't need one.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you married? Long story. You have kids? It's a longer story. Like going back and forth. Apparently, it was very challenging for Macaulay Culkin because they basically shot like each of them, the close-ups on either side and then the wide. And so John Candy was standing off camera holding cue cards for him.
Oh, I thought he was giving his own lines, but that makes more sense.
Yeah, he wrote cue cards for Macaulay Culkin because he was having a hard time. So he was like, I got you. And he like got paper, poster, whatever he got. And like he wrote all of Mac's lines and then just like flipped through them for him, which I thought was super cool.
That. Also that audio, I think I mentioned this.
I mean, he's like just as like a very established comedy actor, like he doesn't like some assistant on the film could have done that job, right?
Yeah.
And instead he's like, no, I got this. Like I'm making sure this kid is represented well and stuff. I thought that was really sweet. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But yeah, that audio of the question exchange, I think I mentioned this last Candy-ed Yam, but that audio has become like went sort of viral on like Instagram and TikTok and stuff of like,
oh, okay,
me talking to a child, like me, a childless millennial talking to a child or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He drops the kids off at school. The car is insane and has the backfire that sounds like an explosion, which probably not a good joke in 2023, but works just fine in 1888.
Because it's not ever done that. Like everyone is scared of it, but everyone is always looking at the car when it makes the it's never played as it's a gun joke because then I don't like it.
Right, right. Or a bomb. Yeah, yeah.
But he threatens Tia. He's like, if you stand me up today, I'm going to drive you to school in my bathrobe and slippers and I'll walk you to class. Have a pleasant day.
Yes. He also goes, I'll pick you up at 4. And I'm like, Buck, there's no way school is over at 4. What are you talking? What is this girl's not in an
I was going to say, she's definitely not in extracurriculars.
No. He drops the other kids off.
He's talking with Shanice. And this is where I said, like, this exchange feels very much like he clearly loves her and cares about her. He's just not taking the relationship as seriously as he should.
Yeah, yeah. He's eating cereal and watching Jazzercise, which is a thing I definitely did before school sometimes.
I was watching Transformers Beast Wars when I was up.
There was definitely, like, you know, a variety of things that I watched, but I definitely remember the Disney Channel early in the morning had, like, exercise stuff.
Really? That seems weird.
I'm almost positive. I know, but I remember it being like sort of aimed at getting your kid to be active.
Oh,
sort of
was it like Mickey Mouse does exercise or like real people?
I don't remember Mickey being there, but the vibe of the thing I remember is like a woman in like a spandex outfit and like doing like a cool down and there being like a song for the cool down, which I feel like would not have been on a program for adults.
Probably
like
not.
They wouldn't have been like cool down.
That does feel
like
more youth teen oriented.
Yeah. So that's why I assume. But also, I was not doing the exercise. I was watching other people exercise and eating Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was Transformers Beast Wars was my morning show of choice.
Also, I love the vacuuming the crumbs off his own shirt.
Also brilliant.
Genius move. Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. And this is one of the nice moments of like bachelor nonsense. Macaulay Culkin starts unpacking his lunch and it starts
What
normal.
is the second thing he pulls out?
I don't know.
So
there's a can of sardines.
So he pulls out a mason jar of milk and then a round thing in a sealed bag with liquid in it. Like normally a pickle comes in, but it's round.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like an apple.
Yeah.
And then I think it's like There's also a can of sardines and I think a banana.
You know the like chocolate orange you get that comes in like
I used to
foil
love
wrapper?
those back when I loved like chocolate and orange together.
This looks like if you took a clementine and peeled it and then like canned it in syrup and then poured that into a bag.
Kind of. Yes.
Like a peeled clementine in syrup is what it looks like. A real sad moment at home. Buck is cut out of the wedding photo.
Well, folded back. He's not. Like they didn't fully cut. It's not good. But
I mean, he's not in it.
No, but if you cut someone, you black someone out. Like those are permanent.
Sure, but this photo has a crease in it. It's not like you can like uncrease it and it looks fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this photo is never going to be displayed another way.
Also, the kid's dad was daddy with that mustache. Because at one point Buck says, "Oh, where's the mustache? Did she make you shave it?" And then we see this mustache, and I'm like, "Shame on her for making him shave that."
It's quite a broom hand,
a push broom.
Push broom. That's what I couldn't get that out of my head, then out of my mouth in the right way. Gabby Hoffman has a big standoff where she wants to sleep in the same bed as Buck, which he obviously is against. This is where Macaulay's doing the dishes, and we see him with like the rubber gloves standing on a stool and scrubbing the plates and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he talks to Mom. Tia just straight up lies to
we
her
also
mom
meet Bug. We meet Tia's boyfriend Bug briefly.
That's right. Yeah.
Buck has the great joke. Ever hear of a ritual killing?
Or when he finds out what his name is and he asks if his last name is Spray.
It's so good.
He's got like a very interesting mishmash because he's got the beret, so it's like he's sort of the arty, bad boyfriend, but they sort of want to play him like a James Dean type, and I feel like this guy doesn't have James Dean.
He's
vibes.
Handsome, but he is like he's not dressed in a James Dean way.
Boy. Right. Well, he's a soft boy. This is not a rugged,
He's smoking imported cigarettes because he thinks he's cool.
I was gonna say a pipe.
No, that would be more like
an
early
ironic
2000s.
pipe smoker.
An early 2000s kid would be smoking a pipe. In the 80s, it was like, these are French cigarettes.
Yeah, Turkish.
Tipped in gold or some bullshit.
Yeah.
So Tia lies to Mom.
This is where Tia lies to the mom. Yeah. I forget exactly what she says, but she says he's like,
he drinks. He left the kids alone. We also, around the same time, we get the toothbrush test line, which you've used, you said.
Yes. So I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast before. Maybe I have, but in college, I was dating a woman whose sister had kids, and the kid was a very sweet kid, and he was fun, and I don't forget how old he was at the time, but he was like, "Yeah, I brushed my teeth," and I just did the line straight out of the movie, and he went all moon-eyed. Like he had brushed his teeth, but just like this
at the idea that it was possible.
Yeah. And his mom was like, "Okay, Uncle Buck," and I was like, "Well, he doesn't know it's a reference. It's like
it's new to him.
It was working on him." Yeah, exactly. And she cracked up at that, and we were both laughing. But I was just like, clearly this was working. You didn't have to tell him it was not true. What's the worst thing that happened? He brushes his teeth more.
Yeah. Also, apparently their dog only eats once a day, which seemed like, in my experience,
that seems
twice
weird.
A day at least.
Yeah.
You get a breakfast and a dinner.
Buck also runs down with the mom of like the scene you were checking to see we were talking about earlier. He's like, "I've been just leaving the toilet seat up for the dog," and you don't actually hear her half of the conversation, but Candy.
We do cut to her sometimes of just like, "Oh God."
Yeah. But on this one, we don't get that. You just get Candy doing like a realization face where clearly she's like, "Please stop doing that and put water in the bowl." He's just like, "Oh, sure, right. Poop and pee goes in there. It's probably pretty filthy."
Well, and it's the blue water that was famous in the 80s and 90s.
That's
I feel like people don't use as much anymore.
Yeah, and he's also been feeding the dog 4 or 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing with animals is that they don't stop. If you put food in front of them, they'll keep going.
Oh, yeah. Also, my wife pointed this out, but it's accurate. The mom has sort of like a mullet thing happening.
She does.
But only from certain angles. Like, it's like half of it is real mullety and half of it is like grown out past the mullet stage.
It's kind of like how Carol Brady almost had a mullet.
Yes. Mullet adjacent.
Momlet,
yes.
We get a cute little montage of the kids in Candy's bed, and he goes on the floor. They follow him. They get back in the bed. It's cute.
It's very, very cute, and it's like, oh, the kids love this guy already. Like he's doing a good job with them.
Mm-hmm.
Laurie Metcalf shows up to the house dressed like the fortune teller in The Wolfman.
But she's like the saucy neighbor.
Yes, but she's not dressed like sexy. She's dressed like a fortune teller in a black and white movie.
Or she looks like she's ready to go skiing.
If she'd opened the door and been like, Buck, you need a knife with a silver
The man
handle.
who says his prayers by day.
Exactly.
Or whatever the hell. That is the line we can never... That is our Achilles heel on this podcast.
Well, this is the problem. I have seen the scene in The Sandlot 10, 12, 50 times more than I have seen the scene in The Wolfman, which is a movie that is like fine, but not, one that I'm frequently going back to.
The Sandlot or The Wolfman?
No, The Sandlot I enjoy. I haven't watched The Sandlot in a long time, but they have the scene in The Sandlot where it's just her going, a knife with a silver handle or a bullet. Like it's the only part that I get. And also mine kind of sounds like Dracula, which is fine.
Probably the same accent. I'm sure that's...
Well, I'm also trying to avoid the leading into the racist trope of that character.
Yeah.
So,
did I tell you that there was a Wendy Pfeffercorn and Squints on Halloween when we went to my boyfriend's like gym people party?
Oh, nice. No, that's great. Friend of mine showed me a picture of a friend of theirs, a couple that does elaborate costumes every year, and they went as the Wet Bandits.
No way.
I took a picture of her phone like a true grampy, but I will send it to you. The woman has the iron on her face and the thing in her foot, and the other one is Pesci with the M in his palm. It's very good.
Did Pesci have the hat that was
he had
open in the top?
The burnt hat. Yeah.
I've told my boyfriend that I was
Very
like, I wish
stuff.
we had more of a height or size difference between us, because it feels weird to be the Wet Bandits when we're like same height, same build.
Yeah. You need a classic tall, skinny, short, heavy.
Yeah.
This is where Lori suggests that Buck is going to have to be there for 3 weeks, which seems ludicrous to me.
Oh, I guess with a heart attack, you never know.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what the situation is, but if it's going to be 3 weeks, it's like you need to communicate that to Buck after 3 days of being like, hey, we're in for a long haul here. This has gone from like a favor to, I don't even know what, but like a bigger thing.
A big old ask. Also, I feel like Laurie Metcalf doesn't look like she looks very different in this movie.
She does. The hair is very different. It changes the shape of her face drastically. Mm-hmm. She's often short-haired. Like, obviously, Roseanne, she has short hair, but she has short hair in Scream, too, as well.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she's Billy's mom, or she's...
Spoilers! Yes, she's Mama Lou.
The real spoiler is those fucking microbangs on Courtney Cox.
I think that's...
3, but it spoils the whole movie.
That's 3. Okay. Also, everybody has a red tint in their hair in 3 for some reason.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I still love the morons online that I literally read an article that said you could not possibly organically bring Sydney back into the movie, but Stu Macher, who definitively died from a tube TV and electrocution, could be back and alive.
It had been a long time. It hadn't been a long time. It had been a year, but I didn't remember the TV death all that well. He doesn't just like get a TV dropped on his head while he's laying on the floor. He does body twitches
from the electricity.
Like he does
and there's still people online that are like, you don't know anything. Yeah. He clearly could have survived that. I'm like, bitch, where?
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine with it. Part of Scream is being ridiculous, so it's...
I love Matthew Lillard, so honestly, I'm not going to complain about more Matthew Lillard. Yeah. It's just, let's not pretend that you couldn't bring Sydney back, but you could bring him back.
I was 100% certain that at the end of 5, the door was going to open up and there was going to be Dewey in a hospital gown with a pistol.
Oh, yeah, no, they got one.
They did not do that. But I was like, surely this is when the door opens up and he saves the day and then collapses.
Or he would open the door and he's holding his IV bag, like the mask in the first one.
Yeah. But he has to have a gun too. Anyway, there's enough Scream talk. We'll get to Scream one day, maybe.
Maybe. It's a fun movie. I love that movie.
It's a wonderful movie.
Drew Barrymore.
Buck threatens... Yeah. who I didn't do this on purpose. I swear to God,
we don't have to do it
like an
but...
engineered thing. But I texted Andrew a picture because I was at Walmart and Drew Barrymore has her own air fryer, and I was just like, why does this exist? And also, all I can think of is you doing a Drew Barrymore impression and just saying things like ultra crispy, and I just was laughing in the Walmart. People probably thought I was an insane person.
You'll scream for the crispiness that comes from this air fryer. The food comes out of here. It's never been kissed by oil. I couldn't think of another easy one to work in there. Those are the two that I got.
You'll scream for these French fries. Anyway, he threatens to shave Tia's head because she won't go bowling. Buck has a fantastic personalized bowling ball.
It's great.
I really love this. I honestly want to see, because obviously Buck is on a bowling team. There's like
that's the thing. I was like, how is he not like clearly in a league?
Yeah, he absolutely is. And I was like, where's like, it's fine for Buck to be like, maybe it's like practice night or whatever, but like, show me Buck's teammates. Cause like clearly he's got the shirt with his name on it. He's got his own ball. Like I would love to have seen his teammates, I just completely forgot the thing I was going to say, but I want Buck's little gang. I want his little cadre.
Yeah, his friend should have been his friend that he meets at the bowling alley should have been in the group. And then there's also like an added element of the other guy, the guy who hits on Tia. I'll get to in a second. Like he's in a rival bowling team. Like
yes. And this is a joke that would be on a Bob's Burgers, but I don't care. You can put it in this movie. I want their opponent to be the Holy Rollers, and it's nuns and priests.
Yes, or maybe not their opponent, but like someone else in the bowling alley.
They're also in the league. Next week we got the Holy Rollers. Yeah.
I don't know why, but this toothpick bit sequence, whatever, has stuck in my brain since I first saw it.
100%. Have you tried to do it?
No. God, no.
Oh, I've definitely tried to do it. There was a time in my life when I could. Now I get like jaw pain if I do.
Does it click too?
No, it just cramps. So then it's like, okay, you're going to get stabbed. Stop this. But there was a time in my life when I could actually do it. But it's such a good, I think what it is the first one as a kid, you're like, oh, that was kind of cool. And then immediately it gets stuck and you're like, no, never mind. Yep. Mm-hmm. Don't ever do this.
Which is probably why I never aspired to do that.
Yeah.
His buddy Rod shows up and is like, hey, I thought he said it was a boat race.
No, it's horse racing. A boat race, I think, he does say boat race, but I think it's like a racing term. Because
I was like, I definitely wrote boat race, and I feel like boat versus horse is a big. I don't think I need to go see a neurologist. I swear they said boat.
Yeah, he does. I think it's like an insidery term that we just don't know because neither of us knows anything about horse racing. It'd be like if I started dropping wrestling nerd lingo right now, like.
But so like that also. It's so funny that they're like, in every movie, it's like, you can't bring kids to a horse track. And like, you don't think kids would fucking lose their mind to watch horses race? Like, it's so funny that became a thing in the world.
But I think you're thinking of like Kentucky Derby, like big time horse race that's like a social event. Whereas this is like degenerate gamblers before there was casinos everywhere. This was the only outlet for degenerate gamblers.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
So I think that's what you're missing as an element. Because, like, I bet nowadays they're probably still kind of a bummer, although most of them that I've seen have slots now, too. But, like, before gambling was just, like, as widespread as possible. And it still kind of boggles my mind that there's, like, the football gambling and sports gambling is, like, done on apps and and, like, is, like, promoted during football games now is kind of insane to me. Because, like,
Dual King sports
10 years
fan.
Before.
Or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just ubiquitous now. And I was actually talking about this with a younger coworker of mine of like, do younger people find this insane? Like, it's crazy to me how aggressively they're marketing gambling, which is a very destructive activity for a lot of people. Like, not that people can't enjoy it responsibly and stuff, but it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's why all the commercials say gambling problem, call whatever, 1-800-GAMBLE, 1-800-PA-GAMBLE. Something like that?
There's usually state services and stuff. But yeah, I think because gambling is so ubiquitous now, I think you're just not seeing it from the point of view of then of like, oh, it was for degenerate losers.
Yeah.
Much like I'm sure you've gone to a casino and seen how sad it is there frequently.
Oh yeah. But I just meant in general, it's just funny that like the idea that like kids love animals and like horse races and all that feels very like, yeah, a kid would love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the abstract, you're correct, but in this case, Buck is trying to cheat at horse racing.
Well, obviously. I just meant in general. I thought it was a funny thing that culturally we all decided, like, you can't bring kids to the horse track.
Yeah, yeah. We get the giant pancakes for Miles' birthday. Kind of crazy that mom and dad don't call.
It is
like,
weird.
We don't see it in the movie.
Yeah. I also like that it's like a box of butter stuck together on the top of that pancake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also was looking to see if anybody had actually done this, like, in Binging with Babish or somebody like that.
Oh.
And the only video I found was from, like, 12 years or more ago on YouTube, like 360p, I think was the max resolution here.
Was it
and they got
Harley Morenstein? Or I don't remember this channel.
No. This I'm talking about, like, first year and a half of YouTube when it was just, like, people uploading vacation videos and stuff. Like, early YouTube. Okay. And this is just like a bunch of friends who liked Uncle Buck getting a giant bowl and making Bisquick pancakes. And they got a big piece of metal, built a fire, burned it down to charcoal, put cinder blocks at the corners, put the metal on top, and made the giant pancakes one at a time.
I would love to like go to a diner at like 4 a.m. when it's empty and there's no one there and be like, hey, can you make me pancakes the size of your griddle?
Yeah, as big as you can make. The clown shows up. He gets punched out by Buck
because he's drunk.
Good.
This is where I said Gunkle Buck would end up calling his drag queen friends.
Yeah. See, the problem with Gunkle Buck is the dumbest people alive would hate it.
Yeah.
And then it would be exhausting.
Is
the problem with Gunkle Buck.
Eat shit about it.
I'm not saying you're wrong. But I know. Yeah, 100% I agree. I'm just saying it would be exhausting because that's what it would be. I love the idea.
Because for some reason I was like, it's interesting that the clown bit happens, but it doesn't, like, I'm shocked Uncle Buck didn't have to put on face paint. Like, it's weird that it just stops.
I think that there must have been something about that because the kid is like, clowns suck, I'm too old for this. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it was like we don't have time to actually shoot that anymore or something. Like, it clearly is building to Buck being the clown and then it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So I also was curious about that. I wonder what the reason was. Maybe John Candy was just like, I don't want to be the clown.
I'm not putting on makeup.
Yeah. We're at a makeout party with Bug.
Tia is being pressured into intimacy.
Yes, which is a recurring theme with Bug because he's a real piece of shit. Buck is on the hunt for him and finds them at this party. The big backfire happens and he's like, oh, Tia, I thought you'd want to get some ice cream with us. And it's funny to me is like, she very clearly wants to be rescued in this instance and instead is like furious at Buck.
Well, it's also interesting if you look at the scene before where the toothpick guy is hitting on her in the bowling alley and like, it's a very clearly unwanted interaction, but it's a really great way to show that like, oh, she is a child and she talks a big game and people that she feels like she has power over. But as soon as it's like the real world, she's not coming back with the smart aleck quips and she's not like being sassy and rude and shutting people down.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good observation.
But this
Buck says that Buck says he could circumcise a gnat with his hatchet.
This whole really hatchet threat monologue is like both brilliantly written and brilliantly performed. Like it is the perfect intersection of writing and performance.
Absolutely. He's talking about like shaving a little off a kneecap.
He was going like a little off the shoulders.
Yeah. It's a comedy version of a horror monologue.
It is
basically. It's very like you could recut this in such a way as to feel like a horror movie. There's a bunch of scenes in this movie. You could do a reverse that thing of like when they turned The Shining into like a family drama.
Yeah, and Jaws into a romantic comedy, Mary Poppins into horror.
Yeah. You could absolutely cut Uncle Buck into a horror movie instead of a comedy, which I would still have watched, by the way.
Yeah.
Really great quip from the kids where they're kissing. She sticks her tongue down Bug's throat to say goodbye. And I think it's Macaulay who's like, well, that's stupid during flu season.
Yes, it's so funny. And then the next scene is one of like my favorite, probably one of my favorite movie scenes, like that it plays in my head.
Yeah. It's a great version of a classic movie trope, which is the slob dressing down an authority figure and actually doing so successfully, because like, you know, in real life, this is not really how this goes down usually.
No.
But the setup for it is also brilliant because Buck is in the school still smoking a cigar, going like, oh shit,
I shouldn't do this.
Yeah. And then going in the bathroom and the stalls are all tiny. And I don't know. I don't think I've told this one on the podcast, but when I worked at the newspaper, elementary school teacher reached out to me and asked if I would like talk to the kids about being a reporter. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Yeah. So I went and did that. And it was like, my colleagues were like, are you going to tell them to do this job? And I was like, well, they're 5. So I don't think, 6, whatever, however old they were.
I get to ask people questions and write stories. Like it's just give them on a base level.
Yeah, and it's like they don't need to get like told that journalism is a dying industry. They're a little young for that. But I had this exact same thing happen where I went to use the bathroom in the elementary school and they were child sized, and I struggled.
There wasn't an adult bathroom?
No. So the bathroom I went into was all child sized.
Okay. I bet there's like an adult, like a teacher's bathroom.
The teacher's lounge probably has a bathroom in it, but obviously I don't have access to that.
Yeah.
But it was just like I didn't do the Buck kneel on the floor. I went into a stall, but the Buck stalls are all occupied. But even the stalls were child.
It would have been. I kind of think it would have been funny if he opened the door and then there was the camera perspective of like, oh, I'm not going to fit in this. I cannot squeeze myself into here.
It's like too small.
And then he turns around and it's like the camera pans down to the urinals.
Yeah. Or a version of that joke where you don't have to have John Candy be too big. It's just he like tries all the doors and they're all locked.
Yeah. Well, I just meant in keeping with the theme of like,
I love the pan.
These are children. Yeah. This is a children's bathroom. It's but this like dressing down the assistant principal is so good, and it always reminds me of my 5th grade science teacher. Which I don't know if I told that story on the pod.
I don't know. You can tell it if you'd like. I will also say this woman is brilliantly cast and brilliantly dressed.
Oh, she's perfect to a T.
Yeah.
But I had a science teacher in 5th grade who like also did like I think intramural soccer coaching or whatever nonsense.
Yeah.
And like didn't like me because I didn't give a shit about soccer, so I let my friends score goals because I was like, who cares? We're all having fun, right?
Yeah.
Because it was intramural. It was not like this was a league or anything. It was
right.
Nonsense.
It was like desperately trying to get some physical activity for your kids.
Yeah. It was like, do you need to leave your kids after school for 90 minutes, but there's no clubs that they like? Try this one.
Yeah, exactly.
So he like coached that and then was the science teacher and didn't like me because of that. Like at one point during a parent-teacher conference, he like brought that up to mom and dad and they were like, I'm confused how that has anything to do with his science education, but okay.
Yeah.
And he would constantly like write things. Like he had terrible handwriting and like tried to write like, I can't read this, but we also couldn't read it. And at one point, Dad wrote on one of my papers, he was like, call me, and gave his office number. And the teacher called him at like 6 a.m. when the teachers first get in, thinking he's going to be slick, but little does he know our father was in there at 5:30 already and answered his own phone on the first ring. And like to this day, I've never gotten the exact details of that conversation, but I always imagined it, but a little something like this.
Yeah. Also, turns out that dude was a fucking creep and got fired for being wildly inappropriate.
Wait, what? Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, so that dude fucking sucked and he can go to hell.
I forgot about that part of the story.
Beyond your story, which is like kind of a funny anecdote about a teacher not being able to separate something irrelevant, he was a piece of shit. So
I totally forgot that. That was long. That came out long after we were there, I think.
He was doing it when I was there. It just wasn't something he got fired.
That's what I mean. Like it like came to light.
Yeah. I remember it happening to a friend of mine.
Oh shit!
Like it was a thing that. Yeah. So fuck that guy. I don't know his first name, or I would have blown him up.
I do.
I only remember his last name. I
remember both.
Whatever. Well, fuck that guy. I also great thing about this scene. you should just go watch it. Neither of us is going to do it justice. With like, he just really reads this woman the riot act.
Reads her for filth.
Yeah, but I love. There's like a bunch of great directing and editing touches that really elevate this above an already great performance, both from Candy and this woman whose name I did not write down. The little boy in the vestibule who was like waiting to go in, and John Candy was like, I'll go first, maybe I'll soften her up. He is like having this like just pure joy.
People can talk to the principal like this.
and also just like, someone finally gave this woman what's for. It's just really beautiful.
And it ends with him flipping a quarter and says, take this downtown, have a rat gnaw that mole off your face. Or that thing. It's a mole, but
yeah.
That thing, bracket, mole, off your face.
Yeah, yeah. And then they immediately after this, Buck is like trying to bring in this cat
from outside.
It's like outside the front door. Yeah. And he's like, who let the cat out? And they're like, we don't have a cat. And he's like, oh, and he throws it. And there's a great edit there to like the Felix clock afterwards.
And there's also right before that a moment of sweet little voicemail, or they didn't call it that then. They left a message on her machine.
Yeah, message on the machine, yeah.
Is where he left a message on Shanice's machine, with like being very sweet and like saucy but fun and like nostalgic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she calls the house, and this is where Tia picks up and ruins, like attempts to like dive bomb this relationship by saying like, oh, he's out every night with the neighbor across the street. I don't know what time they get home. Like, such a bitch.
Yeah, she sucks. Sorry, Tia. Great performance.
It's not you. It's the character.
Sucks. Yeah.
Tia sucks, not Jean Louise.
Yes, Jean Louisa Kelly.
There we go. Also, again, this problem is solved with cell phones.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so many things are. This is a text, a picture of the kids doing something cute, all that stuff. Also solved by cell phones and or the internet is like, I can't get the washing machine to open. Google.
YouTube.
Learn how to open. Yeah. But Marcy comes into the house uninvited again while Buck is doing laundry.
I feel like microwaving wet clothes is not going to dry them.
No, it wouldn't at all.
Well, though people say you can microwave herbs to dry them. So, like,
I guess microwaves get the water, like flash boil the water out, but I feel like it would ruin your clothes.
But also, like, it's not it's.
No, you know what? I put a wet paper towel on top of my tortillas when I microwave them for taco night.
Yeah.
And the paper towel is drier when it comes out than it went in. So it does dry.
But it's being transferred into the tortilla. I think the moisture has to have somewhere to go.
The microwave has a lot of fans in it to pull moisture out. That's sort of how they work.
Yeah, but I feel like the moisture is like, it's like when you put the lid on the boiling pot, like the water is contained, but if you take it off, the water level goes down. The microwave, the door is shut, so the water level, it has to go somewhere in the microwave.
That's what I'm saying is the microwave is so loud because it has a lot of fans sucking the moisture out of the box. Yeah. So they're dancing, and it's truly insane. Like, she's like putting her crotch on his leg and humping it. What's hilarious is that
everything up until Shanice walks in the room is far more damning. Mm-hmm. She walks in the room, and they're basically like two teens on the Ed Sullivan Show or like American Bandstand, like doing the twist or the mashed potato.
Yeah.
3 feet apart.
Candy is like elbows bent so his hands are at his shoulders, and he's like snapping and slowly
doing the twist.
Checker twist. Yeah.
But they're 3 feet apart.
Bit incriminating. Right.
So what Shanice walks in on and gets upset about, I'm like, I feel like it should have been reversed, that like it started innocent and then she's trying and trying.
Yes, and then Shanice walks in as Marcy is humping Buck's leg.
Exactly.
And then he, shoves her off. So Buck's very sad here, obviously.
Marcy doesn't know how to read the room.
Yeah, and he's like, can you please leave, finally? And then just kind of like walks upstairs. Tia runs off.
Well, no, Tia
like
tries it with Buck. She's like, I'm leaving. I'm going out with my friends tomorrow since my grandfather's doing okay. And Buck's like, no, you're not. Like,
yeah,
I'm in charge. And she really tries it to be like, my parents don't like you. Also, I ruined your life, didn't I? When I told your girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you showed all your cards. So
yeah. Also the like Buck was like, you said you would watch the kids. I have this important thing I need to do.
When does she say she would do that? We never see that happen, I don't think.
We don't see that happen. But it also just feeds into the whole thing of like Tia trying to screw Buck over at any chance she gets.
Yeah. All of a sudden, they're calling him UB for Uncle Buck, and I'm like, it's real late to start introducing this.
Yes, I read a review of this on Letterboxd where somebody like really pithily wrote like UB is the king or something. And I was like, who the hell calls him UB? It turns out the character's in the movie. I just didn't remember
But it's
this.
an hour and change into this movie, and it's like, well, hang on, you can't start that now.
Yeah. Also, you're only saving one syllable. It's not really like a greatly useful nickname.
Oh, yeah. I had to think for a second.
Also, I don't get why Buck doesn't just have the friend make his bet for him. I guess because they're cheating, they need to have it be spread out a little more. But it just seems like he could have his friend, somebody could make this bet for him.
Well, I guess he'd have to get him the check or however money. I don't know how.
Yeah.
And he probably doesn't really trust his friend to not just like screw him.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Not a lot of scruples to be found.
Yeah. So this is like a big moment in the movie where Buck has the kids bundled up. He's going to take them to the racetrack. And then he realizes like, no, I can't do this. And he calls Amy Madigan for help. And we think, oh, he's calling her for help so he can go to the horse track. But actually he's like, no, I'm worried about my niece. I got to go find her.
And he's fully honest with her because she calls him out. She's like, oh, you're trying to go to the track because Raj already hit me up for money. And he says, I almost did. I had him in the back of the car. I just couldn't do it. But not in these words, but I have grown as a human and I'm more concerned about my family.
Yeah. And so this is like sort of a big turn for both Madigan and Buck here. I did not notice this in previous watches, but on the windshield of Buck's car is an abandoned auto sticker, as if this car was just left somewhere by the side of the road and like was tagged by the police or whomever.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So Shanice shows up at the house and we get the seeds of Home Alone.
Home Alone, absolutely, yeah.
I didn't get, was there a magazine in her purse for the first bit where like, because Macaulay, she knocks and he opens the thing, he doesn't see her because she stepped to the side to look through the window. She knocks again. And when he opens it this time, there's like there's like people staring at him. So I didn't know if she had like a magazine.
I think that's just like John Hughes always throws these weird jokes like that. And just like, remember they turn into skeletons in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? And it's not the kind of movie where people turn into skeletons at all. But
and the devil.
One scene where they do it. Yeah. So I think it's just one of those like non sequitur Family Guy style cutaways that he liked.
Okay. But then Macaulay, she's like, hi, I'm Shanice Kobolowski. I'm Uncle Buck's friend. I'm here to watch you. And he goes, can I see some ID? Which is just very cute.
Yeah, and then can you take it out of that, please? And she, take it out.
God,
she's got her gloves in her mouth. Yeah. Yeah, that one drives me crazy because I'm just like, my fucking beard is so gray. Are we really doing this? Like, I'm an old fart.
If they have the scanner and they have to scan it, I'm like, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're doing that for that. Yeah. But if you're just looking at it, like, if I look like me and I'm not 21, just let me in.
Yeah.
My life's already sad enough. Just let me in.
Yeah. If I'm 17 and I look like this, it's a bummer, my friend.
Take pity on me.
Yeah. When we were in New Orleans, it was like, thankfully, none of that. It was like, you had to show it at the bar. And I kept being like, do you have to take it out? And like, they were like, no. And I was like, good. I'm way too old for this.
Yeah. I'm only fine with taking out if they have the scanner that they have to scan in.
Yeah. I run into that at liquor stores pretty much primarily. And even then I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is annoying. The bigger problem is this is all about me. My wallet, I need a new wallet.
Well,
and
this feels like the bigger statement here.
Yeah. The behind the plastic see-through driver's license part is like a little piece of cloth.
Mm-hmm.
My wallet is leather, but this is just like fabric, and it came off. And so taking the thing in and out is like 10 times more. I have to like take a credit card out, put it in perpendicular and slide it out. Oh. And again, the answer is like, just buy a new wallet. But I keep going wallet shopping and not finding anything I like. This has been like a year long.
Are you a bifold or a trifold?
Let me look at the wallets. A bifold, but all the bifolds now have like a cop flip up where it's like.
Oh, I've seen a bunch of those.
Yeah, I do. It's like hugely bulky, and already my wallet is too bulky. So yeah, I've been struggling with this. It's a very personal problem, but really annoying for me to take my license out.
See, I have a little zippy guy. It's got like 4 cards on the side, and then a zippy pouch that I can keep a few things in and like folded up money. But like I never have cash anyway, so what do I need that pouch for?
Yeah. The problem is I'm a maniac who has too many credit cards.
But do you need them all at all the time?
Yeah, because each one has different categories where the spending is best.
You should just invest it. You are a person who should just get the Apple Watch so you can scroll through all your credit cards and be like, this one.
Yeah. Yeah. If the problem is I'm also a Luddite who doesn't trust technology.
I know that, but I feel like you are a prime candidate for the on my wrist situation.
Yeah, if I just trusted the technology like everyone else does, we would be in a better. My life would be easier.
I mean, Apple Pay has helped me out of a bind where I'm like, oh, I forgot my wallet, and I'm like, I don't have cash. Can I? And I needed gas. I needed gas, and I didn't have my wallet, and I was like, God damn it! I was
like the time you and I returned a moving truck, and you were following me in your car.
Oh yeah,
both of us did not have our wallets, and I had to beg a man for $2 at the gas station to put gas in your car because we were not going to get home.
I remember that. I forgot about that. I blocked that out. Yeah, I had to go inside and be like... And
I was like, I cannot believe...
Can I put $20 on pump 2 with Apple Pay? Thank you.
Anyway,
so
Bug and we think Tia are upstairs.
It's so well done. It's a fake out, spoiler alert. It is so perfectly done.
Yes. Raging house party, the kind you only see in movies, like nuts to butts in here.
The kind that I would never go to because I have too much anxiety.
This party is too crowded for me. This is not like a fun rager. This is like, someone is going to get trampled because someone's going to scream at some point or a fight will break out. But I love Buck like trying to work his way through and like talk to these kids trying to find.
It's the dance wiggle through a dance floor that I feel like a lot of us have done.
Yeah,
the moving wiggle.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, have you seen Bug? Have you seen Tia? And then at one point, like a kid steals his hat, and he gets all mad about it. We didn't bring up earlier. He has a hat that he says makes people angry.
A fur trap. It's like a fur trapper hat.
Very funny. Yeah. But we think Tia is up there with Bug, and the girl in bed with Bug keeps being like, hey, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And he's like,
stop.
Shut up.
No, stop. I don't want this.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that they made him actually a rapist and not just like a scummy guy who left her.
Yeah.
Which is
we don't see him do anything physical in the movie, which is obviously to the good for this movie. I'm just saying we don't see him like we see him taking advantage of this girl in such a way that it's like we know what's happening without having to see it, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, they don't show it.
It's not like Last House on the Left. Is what I was trying to get at.
But I just feel like it would be so much so easy for them to just have made it like they're going at it, and then Buck comes in the room, and it's not Tia.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, he cheated or he dumped her or whatever. But they like went full in, like, no, he's a rapist.
Well, especially because we saw him doing this with Tia earlier, where she was like, stop, and he didn't stop.
But earlier, it wasn't as aggressive, I feel like. It was more like...
No, this is
coercion,
way more aggressive. Yeah.
And this is more like, I am ignoring what you're saying.
Yeah. Buck drills out the lock in the door.
It's so good, this drilling.
Yeah. Again, horror movie shit, though.
Yeah.
Shot and sound designed like a horror movie. He drills the lock out of the door, kicks it open.
It's like the drill from Slumber Party Massacre.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, the driller killer. I just watched this really awful horror movie, which I do not recommend, with Sylvester Stallone of all people.
Recent?
It's from like 20 years ago, but it's directed by the same guy who did I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, God. Okay.
And the premise is like Stallone is a cop, and there's this like killer taunting him, and Stallone's I guess he doesn't actually propose, but his fiance gets killed by the guy, and so he gets like sent away to this place for therapy and such. But the killer in this movie, the first 2 kills, he rings the doorbell, and then when the person puts their eye up to the peephole, he drills through the peephole, which I was like, oh shit.
That's a good one. It
was really gnarly and like interesting for the first like 20 minutes, then it's just all terrible.
So Buck finds Tia wandering the streets after an ominous turning the lights back off on Bug and drilling.
Yes. Yeah.
She admits he was right. He doesn't make her talk about it. He's like, I just want to get you home. Come on, kid.
Yep. Yeah. And then they're like starting to thaw a little bit in the car. She's like, are you going to tell my parents? He says no. And it's like, oh, a little bit of crack in this armor. Like the chitinous outer shell of this girl is wearing away.
Mm-hmm. He opens up about
this
his
is where we learn
relationship.
about 8 years with Shanice is fucking nuts. Buck, shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, come on. And so like they have a cute little moment talking about his relationship and what he should do. And then she goes, what did you do to Bug? And we find out he's in the trunk. He's duct taped in the trunk.
Very funny. Love this scene. No notes, but holy shit, this is a felony.
This is a crime. This is a major crime.
This is a major crime. This is not a little misdemeanor. You have kidnapped a teenager and put him in your trunk. And then as he runs away, you got out your bucket of golf balls and started drilling him with them. But also, yeah, let's pause for a second. Shanice is an attractive woman who owns her own business. Mm-hmm. She should have her pick of the litter. Buck, rather. If you can't make it this work, like let somebody else in there. But she's a catch, baby.
Yeah, she needs to believe in herself. I mean, they end up together, whatever. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. He shows enough growth that she's ready to, forgive his trespasses, but there's a lot of them if you've been going on 8 years.
Oh yeah. I said Tina. Tia is laying on really thick with Shanice. First, she like admits that she lied, and then is starting to say like a few genuine things, but then goes like really into a script. And I was like, you could have kept it genuine, girl.
Yeah. We see Uncle Buck like behind the swinging kitchen door, putting his ear to it, trying to listen to this conversation. And we see him doing like a script supervisor, like mouthing the words that Tia is saying. And Amy Madigan sees right through this shit. And she like, kapow, kicks the door trying to catch him. And it doesn't work.
He ducks
because he
ducks first.
He ducks it. Yeah. And then he thinks he's in the clear. So he moves over and then she really gets him and he sells this like $1 million.
It's such a good, like, I don't know if they did some wire work as well or how they filmed it of him. It's multiple angles from underneath. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, you keep talking about Gunkle Buck, which is good and I like it. I'm genuinely kind of surprised that 8 years ago there wasn't a version of this that was like Aunt Buck with Melissa McCarthy.
Oh my God. You're right.
Like the fact that doesn't exist is honestly kind of shocking to me. I guess they were making the TV show right around that time.
That was around the time they're making the TV show.
That took the slot, but it's like so what the kind of movie they give her is.
Oh, for sure.
And also, I will say, this is like exactly the right amount of physical comedy. I think if you like remade this shot for shot, which again, why would you do that? That'd be silly. But like this kind of stuff, I think she'd be great at.
Yeah,
it would have been
just
like,
a few
just
bits.
Enough of the physical comedy. Yeah. So Shanice and Buck reconcile, and then we cut to the parents coming home, and mom comes in, and Tia gives her a big hug, and mom's like, "What the hell?" It's like, "What happened to you, kid?" Which I liked a lot. I thought that
Buck
was really
and
sweet.
Shanice are in the kitchen with Miles and Maisie. Like, we gotta like. What he says is, we gotta let your mom and your sister talk it out. But what he means is, your sister has to apologize for being a "see you next Tuesday" to your mom.
Yeah, exactly. Your sister is a raging hose beast in the parlance of Wayne and Garth.
And the button on this scene of a sweet hug and apology is, I don't even know if Buck does anything, but the pan rack holder just does he lean on it at all, or is it just come falling?
I think he touches one that's moving and the whole rack falls down.
It's such the perfect button on the moment.
I had completely forgotten about this joke. Like I had no recollection of it. I laughed so hard at this. Like
it's so good.
Tears in my eyes. It's just perfect buffoonery. And at the it's also funny because I feel like Buck has some buffoonish moments in the beginning of the movie.
He does.
And then as he sort of grows as a character, he's much less buffoonish.
I can see that.
Like the stuff in the closet and the plate break, and he obviously gets knocked over by the door like 2 seconds earlier. But that's like a pratfall versus Buck being a goofus, and this is just such a pure goofus moment that you're like, oh, he's still the same guy. He's a lot sweeter.
He's just a little more mature.
Yeah. Also, I couldn't get over this. So we have Mom and Tia about to like hug. And I don't know what you would call this. It's a sequence of like flipping back and forth between two characters, getting closer on the close up each time until it's like a really tight close up of just eyes, basically. But it starts like down the hallway and it's like chick, 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 like getting closer. This is like such a John Hughes calling card that I had not thought about. Like it's
basically if you picture the scene where Cameron is looking at the painting in the museum, the way that is shot is the way this is shot.
Yeah. It's like 5 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet, 1 foot, 6 inches, 1 inch. Like boom, 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 and then cutting back and forth on two people. But I think there's one of these in the Breakfast Club as well.
Oh, probably.
It's such a John Hughes trademark of like this cascading close-ups, I guess is what I would call it. I'm sure there's a better technical film term, but I don't know it. But I was just like, oh man, like what a John Hughes calling card here in the last minutes. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, almost exactly the same as this one with Steve Martin coming in. Steve Martin comes home.
Oh yeah.
And it's like click, 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 click. It's almost exactly the same as this because it's the same kind of John Hughes house.
And then we get the cute little wrap up with the family, saying goodbye and hugging, and it feels like he'll be back soon.
Absolutely, yes. And Amy Madigan feels like part of the family now, like that, the kids met her and liked her and had this nice time with her, just like everybody kind of connecting in that way is really sweet. And then the final moment with Buck and Tia, him being like, if you're in the city, come, let's get a cup of coffee. And she's like, I'd like that. It's just like, oh shit, he won her over too.
Mm-hmm. He got you.
Yeah. This is a wonderful movie. I don't know if this is my favorite John Hughes movie because I love Ferris Bueller so deeply, but this is slid up in my rankings.
I think so.
After this watch, this is in the top 3 for
probably
me,
one of my top John Candy movies.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, this is like a tremendous performance by him. A really sweet movie. Also, like nice and short, lots of laughs. Like
it's 100 minutes, like but it's breezy.
Yeah, but it's also like the laughs are well spread throughout it. It's not like front loaded or back loaded. It's like kind of nicely spread out through the whole movie. There's a good laugh every 10 minutes, I would say. Yeah. Which is, a good hit rate. And just like great performances all around. 2 great kid performances, which we hardly ever come across. I think Jean Louisa Kelly is excellent in this, and I feel sad that she didn't get to do more as a teen. Buck, obviously great. Amy Madigan gets lots to do, and lots of great little fun one-off characters. Like, we didn't get into this, but Toothpick Guy, I feel like, could have an interesting 20-minute short film.
Oh, for sure. Also, I feel like if we don't mention that Maisie and Amy Madigan were also together in Field of Dreams, our mom will text us both angrily. So they were together in Field of Dreams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Field of Dreams, the movie, again, I think I've mostly seen on cable.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So a little bit less in the old noodle for me. Also, Gabby Hoffman still acting as an adult, which is pretty impressive.
Maisie.
Yes, Gabby Hoffman is the person's
I was just
name.
clarifying.
Yes. Oh, okay, yeah. I was like trying to explain who she was to my wife, and I was like, oh, she's in the Veronica Mars movie. Which is very niche, obviously. But this is a huge recommend. It just hit Prime. Also, I was going to ask you this. This is a movie that doesn't overtly have any holidays in it other than it's Miles's birthday, but it kind of feels like a holiday movie.
It feels like Thanksgiving-y, holiday-y, yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily Christmas, but it is like a nice fall family movie, which I had not thought about too much previously because it's not overtly one. Obviously.
No,
it's
just got the feels.
Trains, automobiles. Yeah, but it's just like that kind of sweetness, season of giving and love and stuff. I thought it was pretty nice. So, huge recommend.
Big ol' recommend.
On both parts here, yeah. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you have not yet, please review it. That can be your holiday gift to us. We'd appreciate that, and we read those on the show. If you'd like even more Dissecting the 80s, visit patreon.com/dissecting the 80s. You get a RSS feed you can drop into your favorite app, and we're now on Spotify on Patreon as well. So if that's how you like to listen to your pods, you can get it there. More than a dozen bonus episodes at this point. You get one every other month there. We just did a great one on John Carpenter's Halloween, much like this podcast, gushing about something we love. And next month we'll have another bonus episode for you. So hop on over there and check that out and get yourself some more Dissecting the 80s as a holiday gift to yourself. Patreon.com/dissecting the 80s. Visit us on Facebook, on Twitter, it's at Dissect the 80s. For the time being, I keep saying I'm going to quit Twitter. Maybe maybe we'll get over on Blue Sky or something at some point. And if you want to say hi to us, dissectingthe80s@gmail.com. In 2 weeks, we'll be back with a movie that was on the schedule earlier this year and got punted and punted and punted. But damn it, I said we're not getting out of 2023 without doing Carl Weathers' starring vehicle, Action Jackson. So I am thrilled to do some action slock. Carl Weathers,
which I think
Craig
is it's referenced in Toy Story 4. I think his character's name is Action Jackson.
That's possible.
He's like a little G.I. Joe size figure, but I think he's called Action Jackson.
It's possible. It's possible. You got Craig T. Nelson. You got Sharon Stone. You got Bill Duke from the from the Predator franchise. Thomas F. Wilson, aka Biff. So you got some people here. And I watched the opening scene, and the flaming body gets launched out of a building of some type. So you got that in the first minute. You got that going for you. So Action Jackson in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I've been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time,
don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.